Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Russian President Vladimir Putin terms Russia and India's relationship has unique quality of trust, stressing that India is a natural ally and partner. Marking historic first, Donald Trump makes campaign manager Susie Wiles as his White House Chief of Staff, signals a seismic shift in policies, suggesting he will talk to Vladimir Putin. Amsterdam police say 10 people are in custody after Maccabi Tel Aviv soccer fans attacked by what is described as anti-Semitic hit and run squads. All right, news in detail now. Russian President Vladimir Putin has emphasized that India and Russia are natural allies and partners for decades. President Putin was addressing the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi yesterday. Calling India a great nation, Putin noted that cooperation between Moscow and New Delhi is expanding across all sectors.
India is our natural partner and ally for decades. It has been so for decades, and I think everyone knows fully well what kind of role was played by the Soviet Union and Russia in India acquiring its independence, the way we supported the Indian nation for decades. Throughout that time, we've built a unique, in its quality and level of trust, relations with the Indian nation, and I can say directly, in this case, and the way we feel and the way we understand coming from our Indian friends, there is an overall national consensus about the development of relations with Russia, with our country.
Putin talked about BrahMos as an example of India and Russia cooperation.
We have good relations in security and military and technical cooperation. Look at how much Russian equipment is in Indian army. We have high level of trust in this sphere. We're not simply selling to India. We're not simply selling our armaments, but we're developing weapon systems together. BrahMos system is very well known. We have made it that could be used in 3 spheres, in sea, in air, and on land. Everyone knows that fully well. There are no questions there, and it causes no irritation, but it testifies to the high level of trust and cooperation. Will continue in the same vein, and I hope that will be in the near future and in the far future as well.
Let's now take a look at how Trump presidency would impact the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
Donald Trump's victory in the recently concluded US elections is already heralding a new era in American diplomacy. This is likely to have a major impact on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In a latest interview, Trump told NBC that while he has not spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin since his victory, but he thinks that the duo will have a conversation. This came after Putin congratulated Trump on winning the polls, praising Trump for showing courage when a gunman tried to assassinate him. Putin said that Russia was ready for talks with the US president-elect.
I was under the impression that during Trump's first term as a president, he was bullied from all sides. They did not let him move. I don't know what will happen now, but what was said concerning the desire to restore relations with Russia to help end the Ukrainian crisis, in my opinion, seems to me to be at least worthy of attention.
Notably, currently US President Joe Biden had ruled out direct talks with Putin over the Ukraine conflict. Earlier, Trump said that he would end the more than 2-year-old Russia-Ukraine conflict within 24 hours. after his return to power. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he was not aware of details of Trump's plan to end the conflict quickly, but he was convinced that a rapid end would entail major concessions for Kiev.
A ceasefire when there are no security guarantees, clear guarantees, believable guarantees, not some rhetoric ones. Guarantees we can believe in. Such guarantees exist. Ceasefires without them is preparation for the continuation of the occupation, ruining our independence and sovereignty. That's the ceasefire talked about today.
Zelensky has been opposing the idea of a ceasefire, citing lack of security guarantees. The US under Biden has been Ukraine's major backer. Bureau Report, DD India.
US President-elect Donald Trump has announced his campaign manager, Susie Wiles, will serve as his chief of staff at the White House. It is Trump's first major appointment since winning this week's election, entrusting a top position to a political operative who helped him win the elections. Wiles will be the first woman to serve as White House chief of staff. Wiles is a long-time Florida-based political strategist and is viewed as trustworthy and has got plaudits for helping to manage Trump's successful run for the presidency. Trump chose Wiles over former House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a Californian Republican who is close to Trump and has been a frequent visitor to Mar-a-Lago.
For Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, Susie.
And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has appointed Ambassador Stephen Mull to coordinate the transition to Donald Trump's administration on behalf of the State Department, though the State Department has not yet made contact with the Trump transition team. Spokesperson Matthew Miller said that Blinken intends to use his remaining time in office to make tangible progress on a number of critical issues, including on competition with China, ensuring Ukraine is in the best possible position for success and bringing an end to the fighting in Lebanon and Gaza.
Over the past 2 days, Secretary Blinken has been meeting with people from across the department to discuss the work ahead of us over the next 74 days between now and January 20th. In those meetings, he has emphasized 2 points. First, the peaceful transfer of power is an essential element of our democracy that is vital to our nation's security. That's why it's so important for us to conduct a smooth, efficient, and professional transition process. The Secretary has appointed Ambassador Stephen Mull, a distinguished member of the State Department family, to coordinate these efforts on behalf of the department. Ambassador Mull will work with the President-elect's team to ensure as successful a transition as possible.
And Trump is choosing his team with Susie Wiles appointed first women chief of staff. What's more, Indian Americans like Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard also being considered for important posts. DD India's Amritpal Singh tells us more from outside Mar-a-Lago, from where all the buzz is originating. What more you can tell us, Amrit?
Oh, Donald Trump is right behind me here at Mar-a-Lago, closeted with his team of strategists to choose his next team or his cabinet. Major appointments. As you know, President Biden has already invited him to the White House, which he said that he'll be doing that shortly. He hasn't done it as of now. That's almost customary here. The incumbent president invites the president-elect to work with him as a transition team. What happens here is that the president-elect becomes the president only in January next year. There's a whole process of electors being confirmed by the Secretary of States of the states, and then that being sent to the Congress, where the Senate President formally on the 6th of January announces the electors, and the President is chosen and he takes over in January but during that period, the transition team works closely with the current team. In that sense, Joe Biden has become a lame duck president. He cannot take major decisions without consulting Donald Trump and his team. So the transition team will take over, but he's choosing his team. In a first appointment today, he named Susie Wiles, the first woman chief of staff at the White House. She's a close loyalist of Donald Trump, was his chief campaign manager. The 67-year-old becomes the first woman chief of staff at the White House. There are other appointments being considered. Kash Patel is one of them. He could be, he's being considered, as we hear in media reports and political circles, for the CIA director. There are many names doing rounds for the AG's post or the Attorney General's post, a very important post. We hear Eric Schmidt's name doing rounds. These are, of course, all speculations and unofficial and not announced as of now. The other names doing rounds are Tulsi Gabbard. Elon Musk could head the new Department of Government Efficiency, where he would look at cutting $2 trillion from the federal budget to bring in efficiency into the government. Right now what is happening is there is a lot of jockeying going on to get into Donald Trump's team.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Amritpal. Even though Donald Trump is set to become the 47th President of the United States, the final results are yet to come. Trump has so far secured 301 electoral votes, while Harris has captured 226. Final call is yet to be made by Arizona. Out of last two where results were declared, many went to Democrats, while Nevada is won by Republicans. Trump has been declared the winner in more than half of the 50 U.S. states, including key battlegrounds, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, all of which voted for Democrats in the last election. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Aida robot, a pioneering humanoid artist, has set a new record in the art world with the sale of her artwork AI God at Sotheby's digital art sale. The large-scale portrait of Alan Turing fetched an astonishing $1.32 million. The sale marks the first time a humanoid robot's artwork has been sold at an auction. The Aga Khan emerald, which is an extremely rare 37 carats emerald and diamonds brooch, is expected to fetch up to $8 million at Christie's auction taking place next week in Geneva. The brooch was a gift from Prince Aga Khan to his bride Nina Dyer in 1960. And more than 500 dogs were put through their paces on Thursday as they trained for work in the UK's army at a facility in central England. The Ministry of Defence are investing £3.1 million in equipment from Surrey-based One Wolf Canine Spot and Service Dog Equipment Limited for their canine program over a 5-year period. An Italian Navy ship carrying a small group of migrants docked in an Albanian port on Friday in an attempt by Rome to salvage a plan to process asylum seekers abroad after first attempt hit legal hurdles. It is the first project by a European Union nation to divert migrants to a non-EU country in an effort to deter asylum seekers. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. European leaders meet in Budapest after Trump's victory and pledge to take charge of their own security. India's President Draupadi Murmu says the Indian government's zero-tolerance policy towards corruption will lead to its elimination.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching Dear India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Singapore on the second leg of his two-nation visit, where he addressed the 8th roundtable of ASEAN-India network of think tanks, emphasizing the importance of advancing regional connectivity in light of recent global events, highlighting some of India's initiatives like trilateral highway to Southeast Asia, the India-Middle East-Europe corridor and the international North-South transport corridor. He added that both sides are also actively discussing developments in digital and energy connectivity.
Climate events have only underlined the case for new connectivity initiatives. Where India is concerned, the trilateral highway to the east, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC, and the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC, are major commitments. Understanding their implications is key to exploiting the opportunities they could present. Digital and energy connectivity have also been the subject of recent conversations, especially between India and Singapore.
Beginning the day, the External Affairs Minister met Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade and Industry Gan Kim Yong. Both sides discussed taking forward contemporary India-Singapore partnership with a focus on industrial parks, green energy, skilling, innovation and semiconductors. And India has reacted strongly to the reports that Canada blocked Australian news outlet airing External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's press conference. India has said such actions highlight Canada's hypocrisy towards freedom of speech.
We've also seen that we understand that the social media handles and pages of this particular outlet, which is an important diaspora outlet, has been blocked and are not available for viewers in Canada. This happened just a few hours after this particular handle carried the press conference of External Affairs Minister along with Penny Wong. And the particular media outlet also had several articles on the visit of the External Affairs Minister, as also an interview of External Affairs Minister. So we were surprised. It looks strange to us, but nonetheless, what I will say that these are actions which yet again highlight the hypocrisy of Canada towards freedom of speech.
And the bells of Notre Dame in Paris rang out together on Friday for the first time since a 2019 fire that devastated the historic cathedral. The sound of the 8 bells in Notre Dame's northern belfry comes a month before the cathedral is set to reopen following 5 years of painstaking restoration work in the wake of the blaze. The heaviest bell, called Gabriel, weighs over 4 tons and the lightest, Jean-Marie, 800 kilograms. A weekend of ceremonies will be marking Notre Dame's reopening on December 7 and 8. Now, European leaders met on Thursday in Budapest after Donald Trump's election victory, expressing a shared realization Europe must take charge of its own security. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, speaking after the summit with over 40 European leaders, underscored a critical shift. He said, "We cannot wait for the Americans to protect us." This gathering of the European political community saw leaders weighing varied opinions, but ultimately finding common ground, a call for Europe to act independently to ensure its peace and security.
There was an agreement that the American election results should be reacted to. We need to know that big changes are coming and we need to react to it. There was an agreement that there should be peace in Europe as soon as possible. There was an agreement that Europe should assume greater responsibility for its own peace and security in future. To put it even more bluntly, we cannot expect Americans to be the only ones to take care of us.
Now, EU leaders have gathered in Budapest amid a German government crisis following the collapse of Germany's ruling coalition. And joining us for more is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu. Chiponda, how have EU leaders reacted to the government collapse in Berlin?
Thanks for having me. Well, EU leaders are meeting for a summit in Budapest, and most of them have expressed little concern publicly about the ongoing government crisis in Germany. Now, some of those who spoke with DW off the record said that they see this as an opportunity for Germany to move forward with a government that is clear about what it wants to do. Now, the three-party coalition in Berlin had sent mixed signals to EU lawmakers. And the bloc wants to see clear messaging because it may need more collaboration with a Trump administration in Washington next year.
And Chiponda, also tell us, how significant is Germany for the EU economy?
Germany is Europe's industrial powerhouse, and it is also the continent's biggest economy. As a result, it is by far the bloc's biggest net contributor, contributing as much as 20 billion euros annually to the EU budget since Brexit. So its political and economic crises are being felt on the continent. Now, the EU wants to see Germany do better, both politically and economically. And of course, this isn't just about the economy, it's also about security in Europe. Now, one of the reasons why the German government collapsed is because there was disagreement over spending and military aid to Ukraine. Now, this is why the idea of early elections is a welcome one for some EU leaders. They know that dealing with a German government that is spending less time holding discussions about urgent decisions may be more effective in the long run. And of course, it would also be essential for putting up a response to anything that the Trump administration may throw at them. Now, that's why the EU plans to deal, how the EU plans to deal with Trump is also, of course, being discussed at the summit in Budapest.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on. Israeli soccer fans were beaten and injured in violent clashes in Amsterdam overnight, which the Dutch government condemned Friday as anti-Semitic attacks on Israeli citizens. Dutch police said they had launched a major investigation into multiple violent incidents following the Europa League soccer game Thursday night between Israel's Maccabi Tel Aviv and Dutch side Ajax. Amsterdam police on Friday said 10 people were taken into custody.
Yesterday, there was an outburst of anti-Semitism such as we had hoped to see no more in Amsterdam. And I am furious, and on behalf of the City Council and on behalf of the DRIOC, I express the strongest condemnation of the violence that has taken place among our Jewish Amsterdam residents. There is fear, dismay, anger, disbelief.
Now, the oldest think tank of India, the USI, has opened the two-day Military Heritage Festival of India in New Delhi. This year's edition marks the start of Shaurya Gatha, which is a program that brings various Indian ministries and institutions together with the armed forces to promote tourism to sites of historical battles, war memorials and war museums.
The sense of India's statecraft is embedded in our ancient scriptures. To name Chanakya Niti, Arthashastra, military systems of Cholas, Palwas, Marathas, Sikhs, Dogras, etc. India's participation in the two world wars and post-independence conflicts endows the nation with unique war-fighting experience that adds to our rich military heritage.
India's military heritage are based on strong ideas, beliefs and principles. The heritage is as old as Indian civilization and India's socio-political history. When we talk about heritage, heritage refers to various ways in which culture, tradition and history are expressed or transmitted from one generation to the other. It is encapsulated in various forms. Preserving heritage is important for future generations as it keeps to preserve and promote cultural diversity, identity and continuity.
And the 10th edition of Dubai Design Week is currently underway at Dubai Design District and showcased over 500 acclaimed and emerging designers, brands from more than 40 countries. The event reaffirmed its position as the most important platform for sustainable design, global collaboration and creative expression in the region. Downtown Design, the leading trade fair for contemporary design, held at the Waterfront Terrace as part of Dubai Design Week, It features largest roster yet of top international designers, brands and speakers, making it most expansive edition ever. With the participation of 25 Indian architectural firms, Downtown Design showcased the latest collections, innovative products and design solutions. The Dubai Design Week will conclude on 10th November.
Today we are here at Downtown Design. From 6th to 9th November, it's a curation of global brands from across the world. And I'm particularly going to talk about the really amazing Indian brands that are here. Orvi surfaces from Jaipur, there's Jaipur rugs, they have great rug collection. And we are at Pinbot Media. There are 2 or 3 independent designers also here from India called Jade Lighting and Nimrat Kaur, who's an artist. The whole essence of how India is being on a global map can be seen here and felt here through designers being here.
How Dubai Design Week has brought in the combination and mixture of East and West. We see beautiful traditional designs in combination with modern designs, which are also very sustainable for environment, and we're really excited to see how the Design Week has bridged our clients as well as our designs. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.